Well, the dynamics of the 2024 Republican primary are changing rather quickly. And New Hampshire is now in focus, and new polling actually has Nikki Haley tied with the failed former president Donald Trump. Nikki Haley, of course, not under 91 felony indictments, not a civilly liable rapist, and generally speaking, not someone who has debased herself yet to the level of Trump. She's debased herself. Don't get me wrong, but just not to the level that Trump has. And it would be logical if the Republican Party prioritized common sense, reason, dignity, respect to vote for someone other than Trump. It didn't happen in Iowa, where Donald Trump had half the vote and the rest of the Republicans divvied up the other half of the vote. But there is a new poll out of New Hampshire, which shows a tie, 40-40. It is only one poll. Let's discuss. And this is a great explanation as to why Donald Trump has seemingly been panicking over the last 48 hours about New Hampshire, lashing out at reporters, lashing out at Nikki Haley. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. What do the data say? Well, on average in New Hampshire, Trump is still leading. On average, in terms of polls, it's Trump 43 and Haley 31, with Ron DeSanctimonious down to only 5 in New Hampshire. Now, for DeSantis's perspective here, if he gets 5 in New Hampshire, it's probably over. And there were rumors that if he came in third in Iowa, he was going to end his campaign just barely, by the skin of his teeth. Is that phrase appropriate, or is that one not okay anymore? By the skin of his teeth, DeSantis coming in second place rather than third. He says he got his ticket punched out of Iowa. God, he's so uncharismatic. And now we go on to New Hampshire. But by all reasonable accounts, if these averages are the forthcoming results next week in New Hampshire, Trump 43, Haley 31, DeSantis 5, he's probably done. However, it may be even worse for Trump and even better for Nikki Haley. There is a new American Research Group poll which has it Haley 40, Trump 40, DeSantis 4, Ramaswamy 4, and Hutchinson 1. Now, the Ramaswamy number is interesting because he has ended his campaign. And the majority of that 4, some people may still vote Ramaswamy in New Hampshire. I assume he would still be on the ballot. But some of that Ramaswamy 4 could go to Haley or Trump, and it might end up being the difference maker. Nikki Haley could genuinely win New Hampshire. And then you have a situation where after just 2 primaries, Trump will have won a single one, and Haley will have won a single one. And even when we look at those national numbers, Trump is still easily winning. It doesn't change the fact that if you have 2 primaries, a caucus and a primary, 2 different candidates taking each of them, it makes it a more plausible path for Nikki Haley. Now, of course, you look at the national numbers, it's Trump 62, Haley 11.5, DeSantis 11. So the question for Nikki Haley becomes, if she can sneak out of New Hampshire with a win, and basically it's 50-50 in the sense that it's Iowa to Trump, New Hampshire to Haley, will that encourage voters in the rest of the country to switch to her? I don't know that the answer is yes. Then we go to Nikki Haley's home state of South Carolina. As of right now, she's still getting crushed in South Carolina. Trump 52, Haley 22. So here's the scenario. And of course, I believe Trump's going to be the nominee. Unless he is removed from every ballot or not alive, I believe Trump will be the nominee. But if we want to build and bolster the most optimistic possible case for Nikki Haley, it would be she wins New Hampshire, even if only by a little. That encourages South Carolinians, voters in her home state, to say, hey, she's in this thing. She's won just as many of these as Trump so far, 1 out of the first 2. She wins South Carolina. Again, the numbers in South Carolina really have to reverse. And then now all of a sudden, Nikki Haley has more wins than Trump, and maybe, I don't know, something can happen. Do I believe this is a likely scenario? No. Do I think that this is a scenario I would bet on? No, I think Trump's going to be the nominee, but it's at least a question mark as to what is the path forward. Because if you've only had 2 primaries and Nikki has won a single one, the justification for staying in for a while is there. And then all of a sudden it's Super Tuesday in March and anything can happen. Now, if there is one particular person in the world who recognizes the potential path of Nikki Haley, it's failed former President Donald Trump. He is melting down and panicking over what's happening in New Hampshire with Nikki Haley and polling. Let's discuss that next.